Right then, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, champions, and we're back with another POV and commentary of this time Huntsman on normal. Like I said, as always, I'm going to give you top tips from being a Fury Warrior during this fight and just general tactics that you need to be aware of. Let's go straight to it. Quickly before we start, I want to shout out my Twitch stream where we go live every Sunday, Tuesday and Wednesday from 7:30 to 11 PM UK playing WoW, answering all your Fury Warrior questions. And if you want to further support us, then please do consider giving this video a like, subscribing to the channel and turning on your notifications. Anyway, on with the video. How are you doing? It's a pleasure to have you here. A nice thing about this boss is that each of the dogs share 30% of the overall health of Huntsman. So every time you get a dog down, you're going to have 30% of the overall health of the boss gone. For the first two bosses, you generally speaking want to focus on the dogs, and on the third one, you can jump between dog and boss, but generally speaking, you want to focus on boss. Because this is normal, we focused on dog, just to kind of practice tactics and whatnot. But when you go to heroic, you want to be focusing on the dog in that final phase. There is a list of books to read and the order to read them through. As always, make sure that you've got your oils, your enchants, that you've eaten, and you're about to take your pre-pot within these last 3 seconds before the pull. Might join if I can later. Of course you can. Of course you can if you need to. We've only got always on the pull. You always want to make sure that your recklessness before you're charging in, so you get additional rage when you do your first hit. You went down to London, I believe, or something. You've gone down to London. And then the first boss that we're going to be doing is going to be Margor. And on Margor, you want to make sure that, again, you're focusing on the dog and not on the boss. You can cleave if you want to, but it doesn't really have a benefit. And then there's going to be a number of abilities that you need to do. Here, we're all stacking for Leap. Quite an easy one. Psych Mechanic. If you're on melee, you can just stand where you are. There's no debuff unless you're in heroic, so you can all stand in the same spot for that one, and then rage can stack together as well. This one is on Sin Seeker, so these are the big arrows. You have to make sure there's no one behind you when you're kind of getting targeted by this, because it will go through you and hit those behind you, leaving a very painful bit of damage. So just spread for that, it's nice and easy. And there's also spread shot during this phase, and spread shot is just kind of like a random targeting at random people. You don't know if you've been targeted by this, but a good practice to be a little bit spread when that's about to cast. Like a needed job, isn't it? Okay, I'm going to keep my recklessness until the next one. Use bad eyesight for close up. Oh, that's fair enough. That's completely understandable, my friend. As you heard me say there, I was saving my recklessness for the next dog to come in. It's a good thing to do. If you know that you're going to be changing target and need to focus on another one, save your recklessness and make sure you can do a big burst damage to go with. I took a little bit long on this one. We tend to bring the boss down to the bottom just for ease of kind of killing things. But generally speaking, you want to charge in as soon as you see that boss and start attacking straight away, as long as the tank's got aggro. As you can see there, Rip Soul's come out, and Rip Soul is just a healing thing. So as that comes out, you just need to make sure that you heal it up to get rid of it. Here, we're kind of dedicating one person to CCing the Shade, because the Shade does ticking rage damage, which is very, very painful. So generally speaking, we get a Mage or a Druid to just sleep it or poly it for the entire fight. It makes their DPS a bit lower, but it's a bit safer. Around 50%, about halfway through of the Shade being polyed or slept, you go in and you nuke it down. Again, a very good thing to remember as a Fury Warrior is to ensure that you're saving a recklessness. As you can see, my recklessness is about to come off cooldown, and I'm going to save it until you need to do the Shade, because you need to get that Shade down as fast as possible. It's not a kickable ability. It's only one that can be done through things such as sleeps and polymorphs. And there we go. I saved my recklessness for that. Granted, it could have come in a little bit earlier, and if I timed things better previously, then we could have recklessness as soon as we hit that target. So if you're doing this boss, save your recklessness for the Shade. Oh, my character position's gone funky. Ah! There you go. Yeah, everyone stop ED. You still have to deal with the first phase tactics in this one, so Sin Seeker and Spread Shot will still be happening, so keep an eye on it and make sure that you're seeing where those arrows are going. What we had to do during this was we had to actually slow down on the DPS, because we were going to take that down before we were going to take down the Shade. The issue with that is you could end up having a Shade up whilst the next dog comes out. You don't really want that, because it gets clunky a little bit. You don't want clunkiness. And there we go. We go in for the Shade. We do as much damage on that. Again, if you have a recklessness, save it for getting the Shade down, because you want to get that Shade down as quickly as possible. We often use our hero here as well, as you can see just there, just to help with that, pushing that. And once that's gone down, take down the other dog. That's all right, that's all right. And then again, as a warrior, I don't do it here, but you have charge and you have leap. Go in as quickly as possible and remember to cast that recklessness as soon as you're in there. On this boss, generally speaking, it's not much to do with DPS. This dog does a ticking raid wide damage as it's moving around the map. So that's down to tanks and down to healers to deal with this and communicate with each other. There was also how that was cast then. It's just a bit of swirly on the floor that leaves damage and a big pool of crap. So drop that to the edge of the pool. It is going good. Thank you, Crunch. It is going well. Again, still first phase tactics are here. So Sinseeker's still going there because that's can't buy Huntsman. And in second, how's incoming? Move those to the side, stack it on top of a previous one. As I said to them there, making sure that they stack up their house because it just keeps the floor clearer because you do need a bit of room to move the dog around. As I said as well, when you go into Heroic, generally speaking, you can just leave the last dog to the tank to deal with and DPS just focus on Huntsman, but we jump between the two sometimes. And there we go, straight into that. Pop those on the edges, good job. I'm sitting 11th on DPS. As you heard me say, I wasn't doing great on DPS during this fight. This was a fresh run and I hadn't played in a few days, so I wasn't doing great at my positioning and whatnot. And a petrifying howl. Ah, ignore me. Nice one. And then the final stage is just getting Huntsman down. It's nice and easy. That's why often you want to be focusing on Huntsman for most of that last phase, because then you don't get a stage 4. You just kind of end it on that stage 3 and it makes a quicker fight. And I know we're weaker, but still. Move out the way, Sinseeker. Make sure no one's behind you. A key thing to do in this fight and any fight, which I always forget to do, is make sure you cast a second pre-pot. I know it's called a pre-pot, but you can cast that again halfway through. Generally speaking, you can get 2 pots done. And if you have a trinket as well, make sure you've got a macro for it so you can cast both at the same time. Just makes it a little bit easier. We're progressing on 7 through 10 now, or 6 through 10, I can't remember. But that'll be Tuesday. We're going to try and get to 7 today and then go from there. Beautiful work. An error on my behalf there if you've seen it. I didn't cast my rampage as quickly as I should have done. I've said this a million times before, but always make sure that you're casting your rampage the minute it hits 80 rage. You do not want that capping out 100 because it's completely wasted rage. That 20 rage could be going into another recklessness, so that's why you want to make sure you focus it. 3rd even. And that was the fight. Once again, no drops for me, but I think I've only had like 1 or 2 drops for this run that we did this evening. But that is the fight. I'm assuming you would have checked. But things like, but thank you guys for watching. I hope this has been useful. Again, this will be a thing that we do every single Tuesday. So each Tuesday we'll have another boss from Castle Nathria kind of out for you guys to watch and kind of see it from a Fury Warrior perspective. And then when Heroic comes around, we start doing that as well. But we're going to go through the entirety of normal and then through the entirety of Heroic. If you find these useful, please do leave a comment and a like down below. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel and catch us live on Twitch, where you can see us do this live instead of watching it on playback here. But come out, ask as many Fury Warrior questions as you want to, and hopefully we'll see you again in the next video. Bye bye.